Hi, Barry.
Yeah.
Evening. Meeting of the Richland County Board to order. Chair Brewer has asked me to preside tonight. He's dealing with a cough and some stuff, so we wish you a speedy and complete recovery from that, Marty. And I would ask the clerk to call the roll.
Carol.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Here.
Okay. Brewer.
Here. Seat.
Here.
McKee.
Here.
Renish.
Here.
Buck.
Here.
Manning.
Here.
Gotcho.
Here.
Glassburner.
Here.
Jettis.
Here.
Turk.
Here.
Cosgrove.
Here.
Frank.
Here.
Severson. Williamson.
Here.
Hui. Fleming.
Here.
Boyce.
Here.
And McGuire. We have 17 to 21 present.
Thank you. And we have our pastor from the Church of the Nazarene here to deliver our invocation for the evening.
Almighty Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for the beautiful weather that we had today, the warmer weather, where it gets a little chilly. But Father, we thank you for your presence with us tonight. I pray for this group of people who we do business today. May your favor rest upon them, and we pray for our county. We pray for its leaders and its people, its business owners, its churches, its schools, its young people. Father, may your favor rest upon us today as we seek your face. And then, Lord, I just pray that everything that takes place today, you know the business that is at hand, that you would provide wisdom, and that you would provide grace, and you would provide unity tonight. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Clerk Kalish, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance. Thank you.
One nation. Justice. Before us tonight, we have a 34-point agenda. So we have a busy evening. We're looking for a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Manning, second by McKee to approve the agenda before us. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, okay. And you should receive the minutes from the September 19th meeting. Does anybody have any questions or corrections on those September 19th minutes? If not, we will declare those minutes approved. Item 6 on the agenda, a discussion and possible appointment of County Board Supervisor for District 11 and all other committee appointments. You have the list, Marty?
Well, I'll take this. As you know, we did have a resignation in District 11, and we did not receive any responses to our ads for replacement. I was successful in recruiting a candidate who will hopefully will agree to run in April for that position. But we do have, with Sean's resignation several months ago, and then the approval of Mary Miller for District 2, is it? Yes. I have a number of recommendations for committee assignments. They are as follows: Julie Fleming, Finance and Personnel Standing Committee. She would be the Land and Zoning Representative. Sound good, Julie? Mary Miller, Fair Recycling and Parks Standing Committee, Rules and Strategic Planning Standing Committee, representing the Fair Recycling and Parks representative, representing Fair Recycling and Parks, and the Transportation Coordinating Committee. Sound good, Mary? Okay. I would recommend that we approve those as presented.
Ms. Gentis.
Well, you need an eighth person on the education committee.
Did we replace that one already, Derek? I can't.
And access money.
I know we discussed it.
Right, so, yeah, so it's currently right now, Linda Gentis, Chad Cosgrove, Bob Frank, Barb Boyce, David Turk, that was a vacancy from Sean Murphy Lopez. And then Ingrid Westberg, Daniel McGuire, Warner.
Okay,
So David was placed on that committee. I'd forgotten that, and now when we said so.
David had forgotten that too, yeah. You know, you don't.
Okay. So I'm looking for a motion to approve these proposals.
Mr. McKee moves to approve. Mr. Cosgrove seconds. All those in favor of approving these appointments, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. That brings us to item number 7, which is our public hearing on the proposed 2024 county budget. So we will declare this hearing to be open. And to start off with, if I could ask Administrator Pesch just to give us this document has been published and circulated, but just give us kind of the highlights of where we stand right now with our 2024 budget.
Okay, so as the document you have in front of you that you've received, there were very few changes. We just had some clarity on some of the numbers that came in after the initial publication. So that's really all that you're going to see is changed. To highlight again, why our budget looks so different this year and why we are not in the dire straits that we had been predicted to be in. We received an increase in shared revenue of $803,000. We had a significant increase in our investment income of $375,000. We received an excess bond premium, which has to be used as a one-time offset to our debt service expenditure, which you will see comes right off the top of our levy this year, which is $321,899. You will notice in this budget that we were able to do this budget with no general fund balance, no use of contingency funds, and no use of ARPA funds to balance our budget, which is a significant accomplishment for us this year. This budget also includes a 5% cost of living allowance and a one-step salary increase for all county staff, which we know has been a struggle for us. And we have reduced our short-term borrowing for capital improvement projects to the tune of $40,000 for the 2024 year. And we received an average of 13% increase for health insurance for all county staff. That is also included in this budget. You will note later on, this is mentioned, but there are 3 positions added in this budget, which are the jail administrator, which has been a position that we have been unable to fill for a long time, and it's mandated by state statute. So that has been added. We have added a finance director position, which will significantly help our financial position going forward in our planning. And tonight, what will be before you is an HR generalist position as well. So those 3 positions have also been added in this budget as written. The next slide that we have again goes over what types of revenue we actually get into the county. Taxes, tax levy, intergovernmental, regulation and compliance, public charge for service, other general revenue, commercial revenue, and highway revenue. The next slide will show you the 2024 proposed revenues in each of these categories for a total revenue of $43,425,607.33 of revenue coming into the county. Proposed revenue. And then the next slide that you have talks about the expense types. And I always say that this is really important to talk about so that you understand what expenditures are lumped together. Health and social services is one that I think is very important to highlight. That consists of Pine Valley, Health and Human Services, all departments, child support, and veterans. So that is a very large department. So I think it's just important to highlight. The next slide talks about our 2024 proposed expenses. And our 2024 proposed expenses are $43,425,607.36. And as I said earlier, the new positions that are included in the proposed budget are noted below. I've also included our debt service summary. So there is a slide here that talks about each type of debt we have. And then it lists out the principal only payments and what our actual debt payments, principal and interest are for each type. So you will see we have general debt, we have debt for Pine Valley, we have the radio tower debt, and we have our short-term borrowing debt. And all of that is highlighted here. And on the final slide, we have the proposed levy by department. And this slide illustrates what the 2023 levy was for that department, what the proposed 2024 levy is for that department, plus or minus how much was added or reduced, and what percentage of the total overall 2024 levy that department will take. We've also included in your packet what was published in the paper for your review. And with that, our overall levy is minimal. Our total increase this year from last year is $41,000. That was our levy increase this year. So I think we've put together and established a really strong budget this year.
Thank you for the administration, the information from Administrator Pesch. This is a public hearing. Do members of the public have questions? Questions or comments on our 2024 Richland County budget?
Were I a member of the public, I would be asking, well, how come it's so much better this year than last?
And again, I touched on all of those things in that first slide. The increase in the shared revenue, the increase in our investment income, the one-time money from our bond proceeds. So all of those things have really contributed to putting us in a much better fiscal position than we were previously.
Is our county sales tax projected to increase again next year?
Yes, it is. And actually, there is legislation at this point to also reduce the service fee. And it's got strong bipartisan support and is looking to move forward, which would mean not only would we see the continuing increases that we are seeing this year, but potentially we would keep a larger portion rather than keeping only 0.75% of our sales tax. We would keep an additional percent.
Mr. McKee.
We're in the budget is the $600,000 that Pine Valley is going to give to the county. Where's that in?
Okay, so I want to correct the record on that. Pine Valley doesn't give the county $600,000. It offsets its debt service. So if you look at the debt service slide, the Pine Valley amount for debt is, I don't want to misquote this, 1.4 million. So what happens is they then, if their revenues are high enough, they return some of that money to the county and they credit it back towards their debt service. And this year, it actually will be $811,000 that will be credited back to the county. But Pine Valley is still not sustaining itself. It's still not paying for itself. There is still county levy dollar that is going towards funding Pine Valley on a daily basis.
The reason I ask that is previously, county took this money, they used it to help balance the budget, rather than to debt service.
Correct, and that's not how it was allocated this year.
Okay, that's why I asked.
Yes, go ahead.
41, the 2024 levy by department summary, why is primarily part of health and human services when every other department is separate?
Because health and social services is a defined category. They are together. Derek, do you want to explain it a little more?
Yeah, so it has its own fund, like it's its own individual fund, but when we're grouping those things together, just in the broad categories, it's just one of the health and social services. It's in the state, it's just a categorical definition. Yeah,
It's not a department, it's a category.
I mean, it is a department too, and it is its own fund number.
But on that first slide, when you clarified that all of those that were included in the health and human services, you had child support and veterans listed
They are
as
also,
well, but they're listed separately on the levy by department summary.
Correct, because of the funding mechanisms that go into child support is funded differently. And so each of those funding mechanisms require that.
I just think that might have been her question.
Ms. Gentis.
Just because I don't understand some things of finance, when we have the one excess bonding premium, if I have to explain this to some of my constituency, I have to admit, I can't explain that. So can you help me? How that, I don't really understand it.
Well, luckily, we have Carol Worth here with us. And so Carol can talk to you a little bit about this excess bonding premium and how it must be applied. And Derek and I we had a lot of work getting our minds around this year and making sure that we were applying it correctly and according to the legal requirement. So if Carol would like to elaborate for us, that would be wonderful.
Okay,
Yep.
when the county sold the $8 million of bonds and for the radio tower project, and we went out to what's called a public bid, where underwriters submitted their bids for the interest rate. The process of the underwriter then finding an investor to purchase the bonds from the underwriter, okay, is very, very common for the investor to pay more. And I always describe it as if the underwriter was selling the investor $100 worth of bonds, the investor will pay more than $100 for that $100 worth of bonds. And that's called a premium. He's paying you a premium. So that $8 million bond issue, the investors paid you that additional $300 and some thousand above the 8 million that you were asking for. But the only thing that the county can use that premium for is to offset your debt service levy. That premium cannot go into the construction fund. Okay, it has certain statutory limitations. So that's the reason why it's a one-time revenue source, because it came from that activity of the winning underwriter selling the bonds to investors at a premium, and that comes back to the county. Okay,
Thank you, that helps me.
all right, wonderful.
Thank you, Carol.
Other questions on the budget, either from the public or from board members? Barb, I'm sorry, I can't see you through Richard there. Sorry. Go ahead.
Please. Looking at the percentage of changes in departments, I noticed that the county administrator's office is up $234,000, becoming 5.4% of the budget, which seems a little high. I'm wondering, is that because of the finance director, the HR, and what else?
So the finance director position did, elevate that budget for sure.
So that comes on the county administrator.
It does, because remember, the county administrator's office is not just the county administrator, it's the county administrator, it's the accounting supervisor, it's the payroll clerk, it's the finance director, it will be the HR generalist. And so all of those positions, so you have to take into account the actual increase in wages as well for the current and existing staff. And then adding the HR generalist position made that budget go up roughly about $14,000 is all, because I traded off the assistant for that, so.
And those numbers are percentages of county tax levy. They're not percentages of the overall county budget, correct? Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, Ms. Gentis.
So on the levy department thing, the health and human services, the 8.16 includes Pine Valley.
Sorry, it does not include Pine Valley. Pine Valley is by itself. So health and human
Where am I?
services.
I must not be able to read this.
Wow.
Oh, because, Pine Valley technically, so their revenues, okay, this is where this gets tricky with Pine Valley and the money coming back into Pine Valley. Because when Pine Valley's budget, when they do their budget, their revenues and expenditures are in theory equal to one another. And then they have the 811,000 in additional revenues that we like to say they give back, right? So in theory, like when they're budgeting, it shows that they have no levy and they give that money back. But as Candace alluded to, if you take what their debt service is and you reduce that debt service by what they give back, then they would technically have a levy, but we're using the $811,000 to fill the budget, if you will. So this whole situation is very wonky and very hard to understand. And I will tell you, we are one of the few counties that actually have this situation. So a conversation I had with the auditors this year was, how do we best represent that to show with more clarity with the debt service levy and all of that. So that is something that was likely going to change next year when we get different software that allows us to do things a little more efficiently too. That will help greatly. So that's why Pine Valley is not on there in terms of this. So that's where that 811,000 gets cleared, right? It's a convoluted thing. And every budget season, I have to like stop and think about it because I have to wrap my head around it every time. Getting back to HHS, what you're seeing on here, remember HHS has Fund 56 in Trish's department. They also have Fund 59 nutrition. There's county aging unit. There's ADRC. All those other funds that, again, this is categorically a budget document, if you will. Sorry, that's a long answer.
So,
Mr. Carroll. Oh, sorry, Linda.
no, I think I understand. People always ask me about Pine Valley, and I'm not on the board, so, and now we're doing the budget, so you said we have levy, so they're sort of paying for themselves, but not.
Correct.
Correct.
That's where this gets complicated.
No, okay.
Supervisor Carroll.
Briefly remind you of institutional costs.
That's Fund 44 and Fund 54, so adult institutional and child institutional costs. Those are costs that we're mandated to provide the experts over there in the gallery that can explain that better.
Any other questions? Mr. Seaton?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Nope, your microphone isn't on yet.
Well, guys, nobody had trouble with mechanical things. Let's see.
Got some assistance here.
Maybe,
There you go.
thank you very much. Very nice presentation. I agree that the budget is a little cumbersome, hoping that down the line we have more understandable budget. This accounting system that we have is very cumbersome and opaque, and most of us would have to go to graduate school to read and understand the budget. It was an incidental income unanticipated last year,
$43,000. The governor, I think, issued by executive order, and I don't know what the intent of that was for human services, veteran services. And Mr. Langren indicated that if they didn't find a purpose for it in the Veteran Service Office in the current year, that it would be wasted in contingency fund or the general fund. Could somebody tell me, Mr. Gary, probably, how we handled that $42,000 or $43,000 that was unanticipated?
I was not involved in any of those conversations with Mr. Langren in Veteran Service Office, so I'm not exactly sure what you're alluding to. Congratulations.
I see. Well, Mr. Langren's answer to me was rather opaque as well, so perhaps we could look into that.
Any other questions on our 2024 budget? Members of the public or from the board? Hearing no other questions, I will declare this public hearing to be closed. We will have a resolution to adopt our budget coming up here shortly. Item number 8 on our board meeting agenda, a resolution awarding the sale of $1,010,000 in general obligation promissory notes.
Yeah, I'm going to go through that with you. I distributed a handout this evening. There's actually 2 separate documents. One is on the letterhead, which is a summary report, and the other is the resolution itself. So I'm going to take you through the summary report briefly. And as you know, that the purpose of the borrowing is to finance the 2024 capital improvement projects. The resolution will contain what's called purpose language. And that purpose language dictates what the money can be used for. And that purpose language is going to say that they are for improvements to county facilities and acquiring equipment, vehicles, and technology for county functions. So this is the only purpose that the money can be used for, and can never be used for operating purposes of the county. So the these capital improvement projects were what I would say removed from the operating budget, because if you borrow for them and you are creating debt, debt is not part of the calculation that is limited to the levy limits, okay, for your tax levy. So therefore, the levy for the principal and interest on these 1,010,000 of notes will be used to repay the notes on March 1 of 2024. So they will only be outstanding for just slightly over 3 months. And again, that levy is outside of the levy limits that the rest of the county's operating budget is subject to. So back in September, the county board had approved the first step in the process, which was the initial resolution. And that resolution is the one that required the 3/4 vote of the members elect of the county board. And that gave the county board authority to proceed with the borrowing. At that time, we were looking at the market conditions, and interest rates were in a range of about 4.5%. We did not go for a Moody's bond rating on this issue because it is so short that there would be no cost savings to the county to incur the costs of the rating versus the interest rate. So of course, over this time period, interest rates have continued to rise. We thought that might be the case, but yes, they have risen. In terms of the market conditions themselves, very volatile, as you would expect, kind of caught between 2 opposing forces, as we say. Number one, there's been some favorable economic news, which the market fears will trigger the Federal Reserve to raise rates again. And they are meeting now for November 1. However, with what is going on in the Middle East, also has the opposite effect on the market, where many investors are looking for what's called a flight to safety, right, in terms of what they invest in. So they go to treasuries and municipals, and when there is a flight to safety, there's more demand than product out there, so that drives yields down. So we're right in between both of those. So sometimes you'll read an article in the morning talking about one of them, and then by noon you're seeing the opposite. So very, very volatile conditions. So when we prepared the county to access the municipal market, we worked with your bond attorney, which is the firm of Quarles and Brady, and they actually prepare all the resolutions and closing documents for the county. We prepared basically a prospectus on the county that was distributed into the bond market, used to solicit bids from underwriters. Okay, and we also distribute what's called a notice of sale to the underwriting community and put information out on bidding platforms so that we can get as much attention and interest rate, help to drive the interest rates down with competitive bidding. So that happened this morning. So the second page of my handout has the list of the bidders. Okay, so we see 5 bids this morning, which is very good market participation. And the winning bid came from Piper, Sandler and Company out of New York. And actually, they were the winning bidder last year as well. So they like Richland County's note issues. And the true interest rate was a 5.40%. And as you can see on that second page, the 5th bidder out of Minnesota, Collier Securities, was at a 6.179. So that's quite a spread between them for bids received at the same time. So then I've included what's called a sources and uses of funds, basically to show you that we sold $1,010,000. There was some premium on this issue, about $2,767. And then you will be allowed to invest this borrowing proceeds until needed for your capital projects. So using an estimated rate of about 5%, that should generate about $30,000, and that money can be used for projects. So the uses of funds, the underwriter pays himself out of the premium. In this case, it was $2,413. The county will pay issuance costs against invoices in the amount of $21,750. And the rest of the money is in the project account. And again, with that $30,000, it would be a little over $1,018,000. And the county will get a small amount of premium, $353.50. That will again be used to offset debt service. Okay, so we even have premium on this issue. So the next page at the top shows you your repayment schedule, the principal and the interest. In this case, the interest is $15,430. Both of those come due and will be paid off on March 1 of 2024. So if I take just that payment and divide it into the county's equalized value, that would represent about 57 cents of your tax rate. So there is also in the middle of the page what's called a pricing schedule. This is the page I can talk to you a little bit better about the premium. If you look in the middle, you'll see the column that says yield 4.5%. That's what the investor is getting. But he wants a higher what's called coupon. And that coupon is the interest rate that the county is paying. So that's 5.5%. In order to get that, he has to pay a higher price. So if you look over to the right-hand side, you'll see a price of 100.274. That's what I was explaining before about the investor paying more than $100 for $100 worth of bonds. That's the price that he paid for this note. So that generates a dollar price of $1,012,767, and you were selling $1,010,000. So that's kind of the whole explanation of the topic of premium. as it applies to each issue. So again, the interest rate or coupon is 5.5, but because you got that $353 back in premium, it brings that true interest cost to a 5.404%. So the resolution that you will act upon tonight requires a majority of the members present. It will lock in the interest rate and the tax levy, and it awards the notes to Piper Sandler. The closing will occur on November 21st, and that you are not at risk for the interest rate changing. Okay, with your action tonight locks in the rate. So the county will receive all of the money on November 21st, and we're going to put monies in different places. $988,250 is going to go in the project account. $353.50 again, that premium into debt service. And then there's going to be $21,750 of that the county is going to use to pay expenses. They are tax exempt notes, which means that the investor does not pay federal taxes on his interest. So therefore, if you were selling these as taxable, you would be approaching interest rates right now close to 7%. So there's quite a difference between a tax exempt note and a taxable. Because they are tax exempt, you have a limit in terms of when you can spend the money. The IRS doesn't mind you making positive arbitrage on investing the money, but they will require you to spend the money within a certain period of time. So you have 18 months to spend the money. Okay, and that date would be from the closing date, so that's May 21st of 25. The last page, just for your information, shows you, again, your debt service for all the issues you have outstanding. And this is not necessarily related to how much you are putting on the levy, but this is all issues that were taken out for the county and Pine Valley combined. So there is the payment schedule of all principal, interest, and total. And I'm comparing it from 2023, where that grand total was $3,530,000. And this year it is $3,505,000, and that does include this note issue. And then next year it goes down to the $2,737,000 and stays there for about 5 years. And then it drops again. Okay, so just informational only, but sometimes it helps answer some of the what if questions. Okay. So then the other document that you have is a resolution. It's a very thick document, but to be perfectly honest with you, only the first 7 pages represent the resolution. The rest of them are a ton of exhibits. And a lot of them are just informational type of exhibits. It doesn't really change anything that you're acting on. But what it basically does, the resolution goes back and recites the things that we just talked about. When you adopted the initial resolution, what is the purpose of the borrowing, what the money can be used for, the fact that they're tax exempt, the fact that the principal and interest is levied for, and the payment is going to be made on March 1, 2024. So it does give the county officials authority to sign closing documents, and the fact it does recognize that you have an account for debt service, account for the project funds. You're approving basically the method that we've used with a notice of sale to go out and get bids. The underwriter submits his bid on a bid form. You're going to lock in the interest rate, so that is represented on a bid form, which is really the contract between the county. All of that, there are attachments to this 7-page document that have all of those extra documents included in this resolution. Okay. Happy to answer any questions.
Before we have discussion, can we get a motion to get this on the floor? On the resolution, motion by Manning, second by Williams. Okay. Now at this time, do you have questions for Carol or for anybody else on the resolution that's being put before us? Mr. Carroll.
Probably for I know it's not required, but I find it very handy when I guess we identify or listed to at least give us a reminder of those things we had scheduled for this borrowing. I was wondering if we could be sure to have that as part of the resolution wording. And I just find it helpful.
In our capital improvement plan, capital spending plan.
Yeah. We could attach it. It wouldn't be part necessarily of the actual resolution that Carol's presenting, but we could have it available.
I do have the report that went to Finance and Personnel back in September that I included some of that on there. If you'd like me to read some of that off, would that be helpful? No, okay.
Thank you. Other questions? We have no other questions. We need a roll call vote on this, Derek? Okay, and Supervisor Cooley has joined us.
Okay, so we will start this time with the last one. Okay. Gentis, Turk,
Aye.
Cosgrove, Frank, Severson, Williamson. Cooey.
Aye. Aye.
Boyce. McGuire. Carroll. Miller. Seat. McKee. Furnish. Blunt. Manning. Johnson.
Solution is adopted. Thank you. Now that we've borrowed the money, we can move forward with a resolution adopting our original county budget for 20.
Resolution 99. It's all the original for the supervisors. Sales tax asking common. Further result in some hereby is levied upon fiscal.
For the resolution, what's your pleasure? Motion by Williamson, second by McKee for adoption. Any further discussion? Yes, go ahead.
Now that we have approved the agent.
If you don't approve it, it just then those dollars don't get spent.
Any other questions? We need roll call on this too. All right, all in favor of adoption of the 2024 budget, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Resolution is adopted. Moving on our agenda, item number 10, we have an ordinance relating to a parcel belonging to Urban and Catherine Kemp, the town of Westford.
This be ordinance number 23-23. Westford is rezoned general A forestry, A residential, A residential. District. This ordinance shall be effective immediately.
For the resolution, what's your pleasure? Motion by Gentis, second by Manning. Yes, Supervisor Love, give us there.
So is there excluding land to some existing?
Further questions or discussion on this ordinance? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? This is enacted. Next up, an ordinance relating to a parcel belonging to Laverne and Jennifer Ortiz in the town of Warrior.
Ordinance number 23-24. Again, that's all. It's hereby resolved from general ag and forestry district and agricultural residential district, a residential district, and offered to by the region.
We have a motion on this one. Motion by Fleming, second by Locke.
There's the to build a house.
Questions on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This is adopted. And 12, an ordinance relating to a parcel belonging to John and Jane Turnipseed in the town of Marshall.
Ordinance number 23-25. 45 0 parcel. It's rezoned from general ag and forestry to a residential district and offered to by the region.
Motion on this one. Motion by C, second by Fleming.
So they're stating that the two parcels.
Questions on this one? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 13, ordinance relating to a parcel belonging to Sean and Linda Walsh in the town of Dayton.
See ordinance number 23-26. With the 6.0 acre parcel belonging to Sean and Walsh, the town of Eaton. It's rezoned from general ag and forestry district to the agricultural residential district.
Motion by Manning, second by Fleming.
So this one they're splitting.
Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do we have any petitions for zoning amendments received since the last county board session? None that we're aware of. Any petitions recommended for denial by the zoning and land information committee? To item number 16, agenda, the resolution amending the health and human services addendum to the Richland County employee handbook.
Resolution 23-1. Therefore, be resolved that the Board of Supervisors over 2023 changes the health and human services agenda. Hereby adopted. Excuse me, the items 1 through 5 listed there in the resolution. Be further resolved that personal employees will be made aware of these changes to the department management. And that this resolution shall be effective upon its passage and publication on October 8th. This is being offered to by the Board of Services that are commitments to the board.
Give a motion to approve. Asperger, second by Williamson. Discussion. Mr. Clemens is here.
So there are two big changes that we're looking to make. They're related to the detective service, social workers and child protective social workers, and ones of the therapists. Start of this year, we classed those positions one grade up, but we never did anything to either in training or certified license. So we're asking them to be adjusted to say that they can certified. The other changes are just pretty minor. We're asking them to services, and then it just be to the administrator's office. We are looking to change that. The rest thing is that we just got
changes have to be added to the base of this.
Questions or further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion is approved. Item 17, a resolution relating to Richland County's participation in a state program for providing specialized transportation assistance.
This is a resolution for 23-1. Therefore, be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors. Services, its director, are hereby authorized to prepare and submit to the Wisconsin DOT an application for assistance during 2024. Be further resolved that a sum of not less than $15,970 can be non-budgeted for transportation funds for the Department of Health Services. Transportation account in 2024 and the 2024 Richland County budget shall be used as the approximately 20% matching cost share portion of the program. Further resolved that the director of HHS is hereby authorized to execute a state contract with the Department of Transportation. This resolution shall be effective. Its passing publication is being offered to by the county board members of the Health and Human Services and Veterans Standing Committee on October 12th.
With the resolution, it's your pleasure. Motion by Carroll, second by Cosgrove for adoption.
So this is a grant that the ADRC receives every year. It's used to support our transportation program. EBUS, our van, your driver program. So
Questions or discussion of this resolution? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Resolution is adopted. Brings us to item number 18, approving 2024 Health and Human Services revenue contracts.
This is a resolution for 23-2. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted to the Health and Human Services Board to enter into the following for 2024. The list before you hear the resolution. The result that the Health and Human Services Board is hereby authorized to make the above contracts by not more than 50%. And that the Director of Health and Human Services is hereby authorized to sign the above contracts. This resolution shall be effective. This publication is being offered to the board members of the Services and Veterans Standing Committee.
For motion to approve. Motion by Fleming, second by Glassbrenner.
So these are contracts that we have primarily with the state's Department of Transportation or other entities. We have from the services.
Any questions? So all in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries and the resolution's approved. So we got the revenue contracts. Let's go to item number 19 and talk about provider contracts for 2024 from the Department of Health and Human Services.
So this will be resolution number 23-103. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the Health and Human Services Board to enter into the following provider contracts for 2023. Again, you have a list there before you in the resolution. I will not read them all. Be it further resolved that the Health and Human Services Board is hereby authorized to amend any of those above contracts by not more than 15%, and that Tricia Clements is authorized to sign the above contracts. This resolution shall be effective immediately upon passing publication. Is being offered to you once again by the county board members of the Health and Human Services and Veterans Standing Committee on October 12th.
We have a motion on this resolution. Motion by Fleming, second by Luck. Discussion, Tricia.
So these are contracts that we use to provide services to individuals in the community. They primarily support our CCS program, our CLTS, birth to 3, and then different placements that we have to make.
Any questions on the provider contracts? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Resolution is adopted. Item number 20, a resolution approving a contract with a firm to do billing for the ambulance service.
This will be resolution number 23-104. Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the county to enter into a contract with EMS MC for the purpose of doing the billing for the ambulance service. Be it further resolved that the county administrator is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the county the contract, and that this resolution be effective immediately upon passage of publication. This is being offered to you by the county board members of the Joint Ambulance Committee on August 16th of 23.
Heard the resolution. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Williamson, second by Fleming. Darren, do you want to?
Sure, so this is being brought to you and the attempt to switch vendors. 2017, when Administrative Assistant Gene Rice retired, we used to do our billing in-house. We looked at that opportunity to possibly outsource that, which we did in 2017. And we've had some success with that. However, since 12, 14 months now, the current billing company has not been able to keep up with our workload or start billing out our claims. And because of that, that impacts our cash flow. And as all of you know, the ambulance service operates totally on its fees and on the contracts that are received from municipalities, not on tax levy. So it's important for our cash flow not to be impacted in such a way. So we found a vendor that will provide the same service at the same cost. And checking the references, they appear to be reputable and have a good reputation amongst the other ambulance services they serve.
Thank you. Any questions on this? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Solutions adopted. Thank you. Item 21, a resolution approving a contract for building inspector services under the Uniform Dwelling Code.
Suite resolution number 23-105. Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the county to enter into a contract with Wisconsin Municipal Building Inspection LLC of Platteville, whereby that firm will be providing building inspector services for the county under the Uniform Dwelling Code for 24 and 25. Be further resolved that the county engages the services of the firm for matters other than inspecting 1 and 2 family dwellings. The hourly rate is $60. The county administrator is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the county, and this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage of publication. This is being offered to you by the Land and Zoning Standing Committee on October 2 of 23.
That resolution, do we have a motion for adoption? Motion by Luck, second by Fleming. Discussion. We have anybody here to speak on this one? And Melissa, please.
This is a contract that, I mean, like it said in the resolution, we use this building inspector since 2009, so it's a fairly routine.
Very good. Any other questions? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Resolution is adopted. Let's see, we are on 22, a resolution approving Richland County to enter into a contract with MSA Professional Services Incorporated for geographic information or GIS services for a total cost of $35,220.
This will be resolution number 23-106. Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the Richland County MIS Department to enter into a contract with MSA Professional Services for geographic information systems, GIS services. Be further resolved that the funds to carry out this resolution shall come from the NG 911 grant in the amount of $13,065, and then the land information grant in the amount of $22,155. Here, the county administrator is authorized to sign purchase agreement for these services, and that shall be effective immediately upon passage of publication. Again, being offered to you by the Land and Zoning Standing Committee on October 2 of 23.
We have a motion on this.
Mr. Chairman, I move for one after second as important discussion.
Motion by Supervisor Seaton, second by Mr. McKee. Mr. Seaton, you said you wanted discussion.
Yes, could somebody give us a background on the resolution?
Yes, Ms.
I was going to do that. Okay, so do you want to or not? Okay, so as you may recall, our GIS person retired last year, and the Land and Zoning Committee took the opportunity to
evaluate how the departments are, how the zoning and land departments are functioning, whether we want to combine things, how we want it. So we decided that we would use a contract service to fulfill our GIS needs until we can determine exactly whether we want to continue it on a contract basis or bring in a person full-time in-house, et cetera. So these GIS needs are continuing and nonstop, and so we absolutely have to have someone to do that work. And we did a bid process just for those who are wondering, and chose this contract. So.
Thank you.
Other questions? Other questions? All in favor of the resolution, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Resolution is adopted. Number 23 on our agenda, resolution approving the Land Conservation Department to use Square for online nursery stock sale.
Resolution number 23-107. Therefore, be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is granted to the Land Conservation Department to set up and use Square for their online nursery stock sales. This resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage of publication. It's being referred to the Land Zoning Standing Committee on October 2 of 23.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Motion from Mr. Caro, second from Ms. Luck. Discussion on this. Go ahead.
My secretary is retiring December 1st, and she did all the work for this as far as taking, we set up the sale, taking the money, and we don't have time to do that anymore. And a lot of counties, out of the conference in March, that they're doing online sales and listen to several presentations by different committees. And this would be the most cost effective for both the person purchasing the trees and the county. The costs for Square being included in the price of the trees. And so everything will be online and there'll be an inventory and it will go down as we sell the trees are sold. The reports will be given to myself and Mr. Even, so that we can keep track of what's going, what kinds of collecting.
Questions on this? Mr. C.
Yes. What is the location? I didn't know that.
It's a company called Square. A lot of places use it. They have we're not going to do, it'll be completely online. So people have these little things that they can swipe, and we're not going to do that because it's an extra cost. It's everything's going to be online. We're talking to a couple companies that use it. That's what they do.
I'm not clear exactly what are they going to be doing for us.
Because there'll be everything we put on the Square website of our website attached to the Square company, and it'll say, we've got these trees for sale. This is how many of each tree. This is how much they're for 25 trees. People purchase them. They'll use their credit card to pay that online. Instead of us collecting the money, making deposits, keeping track of how many trees have been sold.
So these trees are from where?
This year we're looking at going to the Chief River Nursery.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Chief River Nursery. And so we'll pre-order the trees and then we'll sell them as we go.
How many trees are you talking about?
Quite a few. I think right now we've got there's 1,800 trees that have been pre-ordering different species. And I used the past tree sales to figure out how many to order.
So what are the main species of these trees?
Red pine, white pine, oak, red oak, white oak, swamp white oak. So different kinds of shrubs, spruce. There's about 15 different varieties, I think.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. The resolution is adopted. Item number 24 is a resolution approving the Land and Zoning Standing Committee applying for and accepting a lake monitoring and protection grant from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources.
This will be resolution number 23-108. Therefore, be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted the Land Conservation Committee to apply for a lake monitoring and protection grant from Wisconsin DNR for an amount up to $8,560. Be it further resolved that the Richland County Land Conservation Department will meet the financial obligations necessary to fully and satisfactorily complete the project. Hereby authorizes and empowers the following employees to submit the following documents to the DNR for the financial assistance that may be available. You have a list of tasks there in the resolution. Be it further resolved that there is no county match required for this grant, and that approval is hereby granted for the grant funds to be spent in accordance with the terms of the grant, and that County Conservationist Ms. Kathy Cooper is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the county any documents to carry out the resolution. Be it further resolved that the applicant will comply with all local, state, and federal rules, regulations, and ordinances related to the project and the cost share agreement. This resolution is being offered to you by the Land and Zoning Standing Committee on October 2023.
Heard the resolution. Motion from Mr. Manning. Do you have a second?
I second discussion.
Second from Mr. Seaton. Go ahead with your discussion.
Thank you. Last year, I believe we had the same kind of funding available for lake improvement and treatment. Where was that money spent last year? Where do we find this funding?
This money is used for what's called aquatic invasive species. And we can use it for things like, we use it for, starting the purple moose stripe. Are they trying to reduce the purple moose stripe on our fairgrounds? We're clean boats, clean water, we're gonna do boat inspections, or we try to get volunteers more to do that at our different boat landings on the river, and like Lee Lake could be another one. Trying to get education for different the fair and other places, educate people on how to prevent the spread of aquatic invasive species, and making sure there's signage at different boat landings, and that, like, classic example is on the Pine River there's access for waders, people waiting for trout fishermen, and there's boot scrapers and boot brushes to kind of clean their boots off so they're not transporting aquatic invasive species.
Did we have any actual lake monitoring per se last year?
Yes,
Where?
there was, we did build some boot brush stations and went to put them on Willow Creek. We did some educational activities at the fair. We did at like Portian boat landing, I think the Portian boat landing. Just it was my staff, because we can't take volunteers, because everybody's interested in volunteering, I can train them on how to do boat inspections. We're talking about, how not to transport aquatic invasive species. We did, went around and looked at wetlands to see any invasive species. The other, kind of, off the top of my head, we also went and inspected and installed some new signs at boat landings of how not to transport aquatic invasive species.
There's one lake in the county that I know of. Was there any monitoring of that lake?
I don't know, we couldn't find any way to do boat inspection at that lake. So we're looking for people, so we know some people, we could train them to do that at Lee Lake.
Are there any plans for monitoring that lake this year?
The monitoring is mostly just the boat inspections.
I see.
We don't have,
You don't foresee any other improvements to go in?
this money can't be used for improvements to the lake. It's just fighting invasive species.
Thank you, Chairman.
Do we have any other questions? All in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Resolution is adopted. Item 25, resolution creating the office system technician position.
This is resolution number 23-109. Therefore, be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the above listed position to be approved and hired. This resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage of publication. It is being offered to you by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on July 5, 23.
With the resolution, motion by Gentis to adopt. Do we have a second? Second by Glassbrenner. Discussion.
So this position is being brought, as we know, there is some movement going on down in our land and zoning area. And we had originally recommended that this position be a 20-hour week position, but given the shifting, we are asking that it be a 40-hour week position. It will be at a grade F and will be funded through Fund 10 for general zoning and general land conservation, 20 hours a week out of the fund.
Have any questions on this position?
I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The resolution is adopted. Item 26, a resolution confirming the creation and permission to fill the position of Human Resources Generalist.
This is resolution number 23-110. Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval to create and fill the position of Human Resources Generalist is hereby given, and that this be effective upon passage of publication, once again offered to you by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on October 3 of 23.
Do we have a motion for approval? Motion by Williamson, second by Caro. Discussion.
Yes, so this position is one that we have discussed at length. So when I started, I gave up my administrative assistant position. And the reason why I did that was because I saw the need for human resources functions within the county. Now, I, as a county administrator, have been able to and willing to take on the additional duties of a human resources director position, which was in the strategic plan and was the direction the county was going to go. We're able to save quite a bit of money by not having to hire a director, as I can serve in that function. But what we do need desperately is day-to-day support for HR functions. We have 497 employees in the county. And right now, we have Tammy Hendrickson doing payroll, doing benefits, and doing all HR functions. And it is not sustainable. And so in order to facilitate this position, I gave up my administrative assistant in the administrator's office in order to form an HR generalist position that will be able to support and work with Tammy on all day-to-day HR operations. We will also then begin centralizing all HR operations from all of the other departments. What we are finding is we are woefully out of compliance and sometimes operating outside of the confines of the law. And we want to make sure that we are mitigating liability for the county and functioning at the best we can going forward. With that being said, this position came back at a grade K, which is $28.92 to $32.87 per year. So if you look at the cost of what my administrative assistant was to the cost now, this is an increase of roughly $11,000 on the bottom end of the scale and $13,000 at the top end of the scale. So not a lot of an increase for a function that we desperately need within the county. So I am asking for your approval of this position.
We have motion and second. Supervisor Miller.
I'd like to ask, what are you expecting to do with the other HR people? Are you gonna?
It's on.
I was wondering, you have like human resources at Pine Valley and probably at home. How's that gonna work in that? Minimize those positions or?
No, I'm sorry. They would still function as HR, but we would put them under the same umbrella. Right now, we don't have consistent practices. We don't have consistent policies. We don't have consistent applications of labor law. So this would give us the opportunity then to centralize that. We're also looking at purchasing a HRIS and payroll system so that everyone is on the same system. So they would facilitate all of those things. Tammy can't do all of that on her own, and this individual can't do all of that on their own. So it would really be incorporating all of them into functioning as a team.
Other questions? Yes, Barb, go ahead. Thank you for waving. That helps.
So will the administrative assistant who's not going to be the HR generalist be doing any of the role?
No,
So are we here in 6 months that your job has become so heavy that we're going to need administrative assistant?
no.
So next year we'll come back saying the administrator's office further.
As of right now, yes. I can tell you, Barb, the volume of work that is expected of one individual in the administrator's office is woefully unsustainable. But this is making the best decision for the most amount of people in our county.
If you're saying that there's too much work, there was one person in the office, and she's going to become the generalist.
No, she's not. It's not that person. I'm saying my work, my role. But I'm willing to give up the support for my role because this benefits the people of the county and the employees of the county far more. I don't need the support as much as they do.
So Tammy's going to have less work, which is fine because she's overworked right now.
Correct.
And there's enough for a full-time.
Absolutely, there is. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. More than enough, truthfully.
That's what I need to know. Thank you.
Celeste, go ahead.
Just clarify, because Ms. Lloyd, I think you might be misunderstanding. She doesn't, correct me if I'm wrong, you do not currently have an administrative assistant.
I do not. I do not.
There is not that position right now.
I gave that position up.
Other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Seat, go ahead.
this proposal is well overdue. I observed the workload at the office and the work that Tammy does. There's no question that there's a great need for this decision. And in addition, I think we're going to have to be more circumspect about asking our administrator to give up position of assistant. Swamped with the work she's doing right now. And I think it's very unfair to vacate that position at a time when just starting out and a lot of help is needed. So I think we need to take a second look at your vacation of that position. I fully support this. It's long overdue.
Thank you, Mr. Seat. Other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The resolution is adopted. Number 27, a resolution approving transfer of education standing committee duties to the Public Works Standing Committee.
This be resolution number 23-111. Therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that oversight of MBW campus property is to be transferred to the Public Works Standing Committee. Be further resolved that this approval is effective immediately upon passing publication is being offered to be by the Rules and Strategic Planning Standing Committee on October 5, 2023.
Okay, we have a motion by Manning, second by Renish. Discussion on this? Steve.
Paragraph. Richland County recognizes that they're all.
Then you can remove the there.
Okay. Correct that as a typo.
But to have an English teacher right here.
We gotta have it correct.
Do you have questions on this? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The resolution is adopted. Right. Do we want to address reports and correspondence before we go into closed session? We have any? Okay, before we go into items 20 and 29, which both have to do with closed session, we'll take a jump down on the agenda to talk about reports and Mr. Hockenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could, I just wanted to thank the county board for the privilege that I've had for the last 6 months to work with the county. We hear a lot in county government. We talk about the county family, and you really have become part of our family. So my contract is actually, it ends this evening with the passage of the budget. You are in very capable hands. I've seen a lot of improvements that in the last 6 months, and I would certainly encourage the board to continue to look to the future and be those visionaries, do the strategic planning. Take a look at policy type issues. We have a couple issues that we really need to address fairly quickly with the board rules because we're not in compliance with state law. Those types of things. I told Candace today that as I have a little bit more free time on my hand, I will probably send her a document that includes some recommendations that I have and how the county can move forward even a little bit more. But it's been a pleasure. You will always be part of the family. I'm not that far away. So you may see me pop in from time to time, but seriously, thank you to everyone on the county board. And I also really want to thank Candace. It's been wonderful to work with. And we can't forget Derek. Without all the help that Derek has given both of us and other staff as well, but specifically Derek that we've had to work with very closely. So thank you very much for having me.
And on behalf of the board and everybody with the county, thank you, John. We appreciate you very much. Yes, Mr. C.
May I add a comment?
Go ahead.
Departure. I join Dr. Ford in thanking you, John, for your expertise. I think it was Cicero who will experience the adulthood, experience teachings, and your 40 years of experience has been invaluable to us. I would hope that what could be available for us for another period of time, a month or so, and I would recommend to the Finance and Personnel Committee. I know there's a great need. We're going to be installing where to be widely important positions. We're dealing with the question of the major question of what to do with our county property at the campus. It's a very, very busy time. We need the experience that you can help us with your long, very, very distinguished career. We're very, very fortunate to have someone with your stature and expertise here. And I hope that we don't let you go completely. So may I say to the chair and to the executive of the Finance Committee, I would hope that some thought will be given to continuing on a part-time basis, perhaps at an hourly rate. The terms and conditions will have to be worked out by Finance and Personnel Committee. I hope you consider that because we have a mountain of work that we had a successful beginning with Candace. We want her to have a successful, continue with her success, and her success will be the county's success. So with that, again, I say thank you very much, John. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve what you've done for the county, and we appreciate it very much.
May the record show that Cicero has been quoted at the county board meeting.
Chair,
Yes, Mr. Brewer.
I would echo Mr. Seep's comments and I'll say it another way. 7 months ago, when Administrator Langren announced his resignation and moved down to the city of Leadville, I thought, well, here we are. Gee, what do we do now? And lo and behold, we were lucky enough to get public administrative associates, John and his partner, Dave Reidel, saying that correctly, John Reidel. And all of a sudden, the path became, if not perfectly defined, at least clarified. And as we worked through it, it was an exceptionally fine job of recruiting the new administrator. The whole process, in my opinion, was handled exceptionally well. Bringing in all elements, bringing in employees, bringing in the public. We had the round table, speed dating here. And I like that. And it worked. And now we're well on down the road. And our new administrator is, she's leading the way. And I appreciate it. And I think back 7 months ago when where we are now, my life is easier. Not that it means much, but we have a future now, and the future is bright. Thank you.
Clerk Kalish, do we have any correspondence?
I have no correspondences to report, but I was asked by Superintendent just to give you all a reminder, since we don't meet in November, regarding nomination papers and all the fun election stuff coming up. So just as a side note, I will be posting those forms on the county website around the middle of November. I'd like to wait for a little bit yet to make sure the most updated forms are available, but you are welcome to source those forms. You can get them now. You don't have to wait for me, but I will send you an email like I did last time for those of you that were around saying, here are the forms. So to be, stay tuned, but I will get that information out to you when it's a little sooner or a little closer to the election.
Very good, thank you.
Chair,
Yes, Mr. Wendell.
so I meant to put this in the letter, but my duties did not allow me to do so. John's a hard act to follow, but I would also like to thank this board for the opportunity to serve in large part because of my service to the communities that surround us. I was recently awarded the Bell Case LaFollette Public Service Award. It's granted to recent law school graduates who serve underserved communities. And I just want to make my appreciation for this opportunity known to the board. And just so you're aware that there are people out there who recognize the importance of small town lawyers like me. So again, thank you to the board for this opportunity.
Thank you for your service on behalf of the county and the community. All right, we have 2 closed session items on our agenda for 3 different purposes. And should I read the citations for all of them here? No? Okay. But we're going to be discussing 3 purposes in closed session. Updates on negotiations regarding the UW campus and cybersecurity enhancements, as well as an update on a dismissal of a county employee in closed session. And so we'd be looking for a motion to go into closed session. Motion from Supervisor Reddish, second by Supervisor McKee. We'll ask all those in favor of going to closed session, say aye. Anyone opposed? Well, hearing no one opposed, we can say it's a unanimous vote. Is that correct?
Correct.
That is correct. So we have a unanimous vote to go into closed session. As soon as we get folks cleared here, we'll begin. And would note that there should be no action needed from our closed session. Any of the items we discussed. And so that brings us down to item 34 on the agenda. Should be a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Manning, second by Fleming to adjourn, and our next meeting will be December 12th, is it? Yep. December 12th. We do not meet in November, unless something big happens and we need to have a special meeting, of course. But Our next regularly scheduled meeting, the county board, will be December 12th. So all in favor of adjournment to December 12th, say aye.
Aye.
You're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair.